was how the Bizarro Critic became the Pendejo Hulk, just as Edward Norton became the skinny one in this movie. Be sure to see Pendejo Hulk coming out to a theater near you. The next skinny Hulk of the century, the most accurate looking Hulk since Edward Norton. Welcome back to the third installment of our Marvel-Thon reviews, from Iron Man and Incredible Hulk onto Bizarro Critic's favorite, Iron Man 2.
Oh boy.
Just to be clear here, he doesn't hate it. He just thinks it's pretty meh, as you probably saw on the front title of the video.
Yeah, I got a lot of problems with this movie.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Which is one of the most important reasons why he's taking center stage. Okay, so there's not much to start out with. So
yeah,
it's doesn't take place long after the first film. This is
I think it takes place they say it takes place maybe like a few months after it, like
6 months. And this was the last. I'm pretty sure this was the last movie produced purely by Paramount and Universal before Disney finally stepped in. They bought the rights. They bought Marvel Studios in December of 2009, and every movie after Iron Man 2 has been produced primarily by Disney, with the exception of other companies that made deals with all the rest of the films, from Thor and Captain America to Avengers and onwards and so forth. So
those films weren't in production at the time.
Yeah. So this is the last of the original Paramount trilogy. This is the original Paramount trilogy consisting of the first Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2.
Yep.
So yeah, it's too bad we didn't get more Hulk films, like I said before.
Yeah. Well,
which we should have.
Even then, that's not even Paramount's fault. That's Universal's fault for that crap.
Okay, but yeah. So let's just get down to the plot of Iron Man 2. See what the next step is for Tony Stark, Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts, and James Rhodes, played by Terrence Howard. Oh wait, is he played by Terrence Howard in this?
No, he is played by
the skinnier and not so perfect Don Cheadle.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Don Cheadle's Rhodey.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound so favoritistic here, but Terrence Howard was just so fucking perfect as Rhodey.
And
he had the sass, he had the charisma, he had the passion.
And unfortunately, we never really got a straight answer of why he left. People keep
well, apparently in recent days, like in the past, I think we were told that Terrence Howard, he demanded more money. He was being a real asshole about being paid more and stuff. But apparently in recent months alone, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's been some private vlog videos he's done with some private radio shows and stuff where he revealed where he got $1 million, Robert Downey Jr. got $8 million.
Yeah, he was actually Robert Downey Jr. was actually the cheapest one of all the actors. He was the cheapest to get.
But he was being paid a lot more than Terrence Howard, I think.
Well, I think after that, I think it was the idea that Robert Downey Jr. was going to get paid more than him and than all the other actors. I think he wanted more cash. That's what some people say, and other people say it was because of some controversy that was going on behind him during the time. Again, it's never really.
At least you got to voice him in the video game.
Yeah, but when it comes to Don Cheadle as Rhodey, I think it's pretty good. I will say it's weird that they went with Don Cheadle of all people, because he looks nothing like Terrence Howard except that he's black.
He looks even darker than Terrence Howard.
Yeah, really, just because he's black does not mean he's instantly a good replacement. But again, I think he did a good job playing Rhodey, and he actually.
I'm totally gonna do this in the review someday, in a review for Iron Man 2 someday in the future, where similar to the Hulk reveal in the Incredible Hulk, when Rhodey comes out, because I felt this I felt this at the time when I first saw him. I knew he was being replaced. I knew this was gonna happen, and when I saw him for the very first time on the big screen, I was like, "That's not Rhodey.
Yeah.
What did you do to Rhodey?"
Yeah, I thought he was okay as Rhodey. He was not one of my problems.
He's gotten better. I think he's gotten better over the years.
Yeah, it takes. Well, yeah, you gotta get used to it.
And I think you can agree with me. You can agree with me with this on Iron Man 2. Rhodey, at least during the first half of the film, he barely does shit in the first half of the film.
Yeah, well, from the beginning of the film, it's mostly just focused on Tony Stark and his whole issue. Because,
of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Start.
Yeah. Though before that, let's start this whole thing.
Start explaining the plot, BC.
Alright, so we begin in Russia, where we are introduced to Vanko, the Vankos, where first we have...
Crimson Dynamo.
that's his father, Anton. So yeah, we see Ivan, who is getting blueprints from a little organization, not well known, called the Ten Rings. You know, everybody.
What?
Yeah, the Ten Rings are the ones that give it to him. The blueprints.
Where did that come from?
The Ten Rings. They are the ones who give him those blueprints that he wanted.
I thought
in the opening.
No. I thought he just had them because it was passed on to him.
No, like his father gave him like some of the blueprints, but some of the more important documents that he gained were from the Ten Rings.
How fucking convenient.
Again, the Ten Rings are supposed to be building up throughout the whole thing. There's supposed to be a massive build up to Mandarin.
Oh,
again, we'll get back to it we'll get back to that
in the future.
Yep. But yeah, he talks to his father, and we get this like really tragic moment of him talking to his dad, and his dad, telling him, that should have been you. You should be the one people are cheering for, but the only thing he can pass down to him is his knowledge. He passes away. He has like that moment of anger, and then he starts building, an arc reactor, in a small ass house, with a box of scraps. And, he ends up building his own arc reactor, and would eventually even forge his own weaponry, which would be, these electrical whips, which would make him Whiplash. The weird thing about this is that this is not actually Whiplash's origin. This is actually Whiplash is actually a character called I want to say Marco Scarlito. But for some reason they decided to have it where they decided to combine both Crimson Dynamo and Whiplash together by having where he is like, he built armor to rival Iron Man, but instead he went with a whip motif instead of, doing the Crimson Dynamo thing, which I feel like Crimson Dynamo would have fit better with this. Though his father in the comics is Crimson Dynamo. So, yeah, so Ivan's pretty much like planning to get his revenge. Meanwhile, the Stark Expo is going on, and where Tony is like greeting people and stuff, he shows a little short film that his father, who's definitely not a parody of Walt Disney, he talks about this amazing.
But this wasn't produced by Disney.
Yeah, ironically, but yeah, and his father talks about the future of the future. And while they're going,
who was not the same guy who was modeled for Howard Stark in the newspapers and stuff for the original film.
Yeah,
so that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, well, this movie did a lot of recasting. In fact, Howard's played by two different actors in the MCU in general.
By who?
Howard's played by two different actors in the MCU. We got young Howard, and then we got.
I know in the first movie it was just some guy who had to look like him, and they didn't need to do any acting with him or whatever. But I think this is just totally nitpicky. It would have been better if they did do acting with him because he looked really cool. Yeah. At least to me.
Well, I don't. But, I think actually, I think that might. I don't know where the pictures who that guy actually is. So maybe there's a reason they didn't go for him. But yeah, Howard is. Howard has that speech and stuff. We also meet Justin Hammer, who is very different from the comic book counterpart, where Justin Hammer is a very older gentleman and very. I guess you could say, I don't know, like, in some comics, he's kind of like that. He's kind of like Mr. Burns from the fucking Simpsons, if you watch that show, where he's very, like, obviously corporate evil. But in this one, he's a little bit more like he's a wannabe Tony Stark. Like, I think that's even I think that's even how John Wan depicted it, as that he's a wannabe, he wants to be Tony Stark.
I noticed that looking at it again after all this time.
Yeah, and I believe the actor was actually in the running to play Tony originally.
Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, Sam Rockwell.
Great actor.
Yeah, and he was really good in this film. And, so we get that little moment there. We get some glimpses of Tony, who's looking at his chest, and we see that, there's like these blue veins, protruding from the arc reactor. And we quickly learn that it's because the stuff that the arc reactor is made of, even though it's preventing the shrapnel from piercing his heart, it's also like the alloy is poisonous to his body still, and it's slowly killing him. So pretty much he is the Walking Dead. To go back to what Yinsen once said. So eventually he ends up he kind of goes through somewhat of a somewhat of a demon in the bottle thing, but instead of where like he does go over the top of the alcohol, but he never to the point where he goes like double A meetings and stuff. While that's going on, he gets a new secretary because Pepper has been promoted after Obadiah died. Pepper took over his spot, and he gets a new secretary, a secretary that I think every single one of us would want. Am I right?
This was the movie that introduced us to Scarlett Johansson.
Well, actually, for me, it was lost in translation, but okay.
Oh, come on.
Well,
how did you even know about that movie at the time? That was for fucking adults. You were a fucking kid.
I would steal my parents' DVD collection because I thought there would be something really... Because, I don't know, when I was, like,
maybe the copyright Nazis had the right idea.
Brief little thing about me as a little kid, I was, like, I like to get into, like, my parents' crap. Because much like all little kids, I thought, like, some of the fun stuff, because some of the best stuff is, like, stuff that your parents don't want you to see, because, like, my dad would always have fun watching, like, these movies, like, I remember he talked about Terminator, and I always wanted to watch Terminator, and I got pissed off my parents wouldn't let me watch it. So I watched Lost in Translation, though I was older when I saw that film.
And even though Scarlett was only 18 in that movie, she looked like she was around 25.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing about her. She always looks like she's much older than she is.
Yep. She looks like the same age. She's like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Pretty much, but of course, compared to 2010, compared to today, she looks a lot different. I mean, look at Iron Man 2 again. She looks a lot different.
Well,
than
I think
today.
I think it's also like she's had a workout, like she's done more workout material. Like she has to work out a little bit more, be a little bit more fit. So of course it's gonna change.
Pretty ironic considering her grand role in the recent movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, as for the character herself, Black Widow, I was actually already very familiar with her because I saw her in Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. She was cool in that. Oh no. Before that, there was Marvel Ultimate Alliance. She was really cool in that game.
Yeah, and this is something that a lot of Marvel like to bring up a lot to kind of show how much they went into detail on this is that the first time you meet Black Widow is in a Crimson Dynamo story. So that's kind of the thing there. Granted, she was a villain in that storyline because originally Black Widow originated as a villain. Which has long since been abandoned unless you read the Ultimate Comics, where she is a fucking bitch. At least the original Natasha in that universe is a fucking bitch for what she did. But yeah, so in this one, she's like there to we find out later on that she's there to spy on Tony Stark and to kind of in a way evaluate him to see if he really is qualified for the Avengers Initiative. Though we do find out that after the conversation with Nick, he'd actually denied working with the Avengers. Though the Avengers were not yet formed. So pretty much
which ties in so well with the not just it ties in good enough with the post-credit scene in the first film because it never is clear whether Tony accepts or not.
Yeah, he didn't.
But in the Hulk ending scene where
it looked like he embraced it, and the fact that in this one they say he didn't want to be a part of it contradicts.
Where the fuck did that come from?
So later on in the movie, we have this scene. Not later on, but like after Tony meets her and stuff, and Rhodey gives out this whole the classic you can't do this lone gunslinger thing. Well, actually no. Before that, he even has Before that,
we should talk about the Senate scene.
Yeah, I'm about to get into that because I almost forgot about that.
The late comedian whose name I can't remember. What's his name?
Shit. I'm sorry, man.
Sake.
Dude, I am tired, man. I was up at 3:00 in the morning. There's a whole there's a Senate scene, and they're telling him that you gotta give the Iron Man over to the American people. Tony Stark says no. People are saying yeah, while the senator was telling Tony he can, saying to Tony fuck you. On national
he
TV.
Literally says.
Yeah, he literally just says fuck you.
Fuck you, Mr. Stark. Fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, and which makes it less surprising that he turned out to be Hydra.
Spoilers.
Oh, whatever. Who cares?
I thought that was clever, but anyway, and clearly he was doing what he was doing because he wanted Hydra to have Iron Man.
And while that's going on, we actually see that there are other Iron Man attempts. And Tony actually even shows some of the short, how, like, And at first everyone's worried about this, but then Tony quickly shows that, all these attempts are failures. They all went so fucking bad. Like, they went so south. So, including one where Justin Hammer assisted them. And it's kind of funny that this is brought up because Doctor Strange actually brought this back up, actually referenced this scene. In the scene where in the scene where the pilot or one of the Iron Man test pilots are trying to test the armor by just simply walking and turning, when he turns, his whole spine just freaking like goes, freaking just breaks apart. And Justin Hammer has to say he survived. That guy survived. And it would later be talked about in Doctor Strange, where one of Stephen's page, one of the people that Stephen wants that they want Stephen to work on, is a guy who suffered a spinal injury. So that guy.
I'll have to look out for that. I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we'll get to Doctor Strange.
I haven't seen Doctor Strange in almost 2 years.
Yeah,
I saw it only once, and for good reason.
Yeah, we'll get to that reason someday, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that story.
Anyway, Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
No, wait, I'm sorry. I gotta make sure.
Okay, so...
No, hold on. Gary Shandling. The late Gary Shandling did an awesome job playing this character who only appeared in a couple movies.
He only appeared into this movie and in Captain America Winter Soldier.
And he had much less screen time in Winter Soldier. They just pretty much wanted to throw it at us, but they did it in a good way.
Sure.
But anyway, keep explaining the story. Like,
okay,
so Tony basically shows off.
Yeah, he shows off.
He says, fuck the Senate. And
he says, fuck it, I'm gonna keep the armor. Then after that, we proceed to Monte Carlo and stuff.
No,
there's a whole bunch of
Monaco.
Shit. Monaco, whatever. Monaco. Why did I say Monte Carlo? But again, I'm tired, people. They go to Monaco, there's a race, Tony decides, fuck, I'm gonna go in this race because he's dying and he wants to, he's not sure what and, I guess he wants to feel some excitement because he's not even trying to find a cure, he's sure he's dead. Until, dun dun dun, Whiplash shows up. And
in a really cool way.
Yeah, in a really cool way. He just walks in.
Yeah, yes, Iron Man. I knew that at the last minute you would sign yourself up for the races.
Yeah, he just apparently assumed that was going to happen. How did he know he was going to be there? So yeah,
even CinemaSins points this out because I was watching this. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, how did you know he was going to be there?
I didn't realize it.
And then after that, we have this cool scene, which...
I guess the original intent was that he would do it, silently, he would try to stalk Tony on the sides and then kill him.
And then but instead he goes there. We leave to this fight where Tony has to try to, avoid his attacks while Pepper and Happy are trying to get his suitcase. Which leads to a really cool moment, which...
That's another problem I have to point out that I'm not sure you noticed. Because earlier, when Tony forced himself into the races, Pepper told Natasha, go get Happy. And when Happy comes later, he has the Iron Man suit. And Pepper didn't tell him to get the suit.
Yeah.
Why did he have the suit?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, I don't know.
He had to take 2 trips?
Yeah, I guess
he came over, he saw that Tony was in trouble, then he went back to the car, and then he got the suit.
I guess they told him that shit was going down, so yeah, he got the armor. And that's actually something I will give it to the film, is that I like that we do get to see other types of armor instead of the simple,
Yeah, and then Pepper has that real prissy moment when Whiplash is attacking, she's like, oh, God! Oh, my God! Oh, God! Take the case! Take the case!
Yeah, and and then Tony uses it, and he beats Whiplash because, Whiplash's whips are tough, but the problem is, he ain't wearing any fucking armor besides the vest, so... Tony, he grabs it, he destroys his arc reactor. People are now saying that bullshit, that technology does exist. People are building that stuff. Tony then, we even have this really kick-ass moment with Ivan, where Tony is talking to him, and, and he has, really awesome speech where he says, if you make God bleed, people stop believing in you. and like he pretty much talked about how he's gonna fuck him up and how he's gonna find a way to get revenge. And this is why I say he's the main villain. I know Nostalgia Critic, and I know Doug freaking talked about this when he did his when he talked about the movie, saying the movie is just another guy in a business suit in the second film, as well as the third film. But I gotta say, Justin Hammer's more of a pawn. Like, Ivan's the main villain. Ivan, he is the main villain. He's not a guy in a fucking suit. He's manipulating the guy in the suit. But yeah, he's pretty much like in Tony Stark. He's like, he does some background checks on him. He learns about his origin of, like, you know, his father was Anton.
And Ivan, when he first beats Ivan does yell out,
"You lose.
You lose, Stark," because now everyone knows. Now everyone knows that other people can make this stuff.
Yeah.
Can weaponize it. So you're fucked.
Yeah, and eventually, you know, while Tony's dealing with his crap, you know, and yeah, I think that's actually where the whole lone gunslinger scene comes from, because, you know,
oops.
Yeah, dude. Again, I'm not gonna go back on this, but yeah. So, yeah, like the whole thing is that while that's going on, Justin has broken Hammer out, and like we have like this very
broken Hammer out.
Sorry, broken Ivan out. Broken Ivan out, and Ivan, and like he just tells him, "Hey, dude, like, you know, you want my resources? I want that technology. You help me out here."
I'm gonna risk life in prison for being the best pretty boy on the weapons industry.
Yeah, and I'm gonna eat my sundae because like I'm eccentric. Because don't get me wrong, man, I have a sweet tooth as well. I like to eat ice cream at random points in time as well. But come on, man, this is trying too much. But
how much are you willing to bet that Ivan was like flat out insulting him with that Russian stuff?
Yeah,
like calling him a pussy.
I've actually been trying to find it. I actually been meaning to look up what he actually said.
Yeah, it would have been funny if like on the DVD it had a translation.
And he called him a fucking prick or a fucking dumbass.
Very good, man. Very good.
Yeah.
There is a commentary on my copy, which is ironic because my DVD copy barely has shit on it. Like the most unique thing is the commentary from Jon Favreau.
Favreau
and some of his crew. But anyway, so now we're down to like, yeah, the gunslinger moments. And Rhodey was telling Tony, look, I've been telling people to back off, but I'm sick and tired of this.
Yeah, and then we actually do, and this is what I like about Rhodey in this film is that, again, Don Cheadle does have some like awkward moments, especially since again he has to like, you know, fill in the shoes of an actor who was, let's face it, he was a bigger name than he was at the time. It does give Rhodey this really big test of he has to fight his friend. Like he can't like, keep his shit done anymore. Like he can't deal with that right now. It's really jeopardizing his job. And
even as Iron Man, even when Tony's Iron Man, Rhodey pretty much is doing what he did in the old days.
Yeah. Before
Iron Man, for so long.
Yeah, and now it's getting...
we should have mentioned that awesome moment in the first film. 3 hours. For 3 hours. For 3 hours, you've got me standing here. Waiting on you now.
Yeah. So while it's going on, we have Tony... we have like this whole thing where there's like a party going on, and Tony like decides, you know, fuck it, like I'm just gonna like, you know, like like this is where like I guess it's supposed to be like his breaking point where he just gets drunk off his ass, gets the suit, he answers the question.
He's kind of a total asshole.
Yeah, he's acting like a total dick, which it was a thing. Which again, this is supposed.
Who's the bigger dick, him? Or the dozens of assholes partying who are not paying attention that he's using Iron Man weapons to destroy bottles.
They're dumbasses. They're drunk dumbasses, but he's an asshole for freaking even like jeopardizing people's lives like that. There's
even a deleted scene where he has a pretty girl like using the flight technology. It's hilarious. It's adorable. Where like Rhodey's like, let me get this straight. The United States military can't use this, but Miss Virginia or Miss Sky or something. Miss Sky can use it.
Yeah.
And even Natasha, I love this deleted scene where Natasha gets to use the repulsor ray.
Yeah.
Black Widow, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
but she has that smile on her face in that deleted scene where she's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, well, fun fact actually, Black Widow in the Ultimate Comics did actually have armor for a while. She actually had Iron Man armor, so I don't know if that was supposed to be a reference.
So anyway,
to that scene, but
then Rhodey finally
is like
just like in the first movie. He said in the first movie, Next time, baby.
And he finally wears the Mark II armor to fight Tony, and it leads to this really, like, it's a cool fight, but I feel like there wasn't much of an emotional weight than it really should have.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, and then
another one bites the dust.
Yeah, that does not help either.
Come on!
It's
a great scene.
It's a great scene.
But it would have been a lot. I will agree with you. It would be a lot more impactful if Rhodey actually did more shit than he did during this first half of the movie.
And so,
then there's another throwaway name.
Yeah.
You want to be a war machine? Then take it.
Yeah. Well, at least they actually call him War Machine later in the movie.
No, they don't. That's the only time they do it.
No, they do. They actually call him... No, I thought they called him War Machine near the end.
Watch it again!
Okay, whatever.
Watch it again!
Well, whatever. Like, he actually at least goes by War Machine in the movies. Well, like, I don't even know they ever called... Like, they never... I know they never called Stain, frickin' Ironmonger. I know they eventually called Blonsky Abomination. But at least they call him War Machine in the later on in the movies. Well, except for the third one where he's Iron Patriot.
Totally different story.
Yeah. But, yeah, so after the fight, Tony Stark, for some reason, thinks he's a gorilla and starts, roaring at people. Which I don't know why the fuck you're doing that.
To scare them away.
Yeah, why roar, though? Just freaking, shoot, threaten to shoot someone or whatever. Well, whatever. I'm trying to bring logic to a man who's drunk off his ass.
Rhodey is a quick adapter.
Yeah.
He has trouble at first, but he quickly teaches himself how to use the weapons.
Yeah,
how to fly.
And that does show a lot about...
How does the Mark II have repulsor rays?
Mark II probably... No, it probably did. I'm pretty sure it did have repulsor rays and stuff. It just didn't, I guess, we just didn't see Tony, they could have been, not as refined, but, that's it. But yeah, that is something I do like about the scene, is that Rhodey does get to do a little, we do get to see what kind of person Rhodey's like when it comes to combat, that he's quick to adapt and he's able to get there. But while that's going on, Justin Hammer has been trying to get Blonsky to work with him here, and by giving him so much shit...
Ivan?
What
the fuck is
I am tired.
He said Blonsky.
I know I said Blonsky, whatever, Ivan Vanko. But yeah, he goes to Ivan, and Ivan's pretty much saying that the armored suit thing's stupid. He's gonna go for drones, so he makes those iron drones.
He says, "These software is shit."
Yeah. So he makes him he makes him these drones, and also what's going on, he's doing it at a very slow pace, and he's pissing him off, and he's giving him so much shit. He's giving him he got him his bird, or he claims that he got him his bird because he's saying, "That's not my bird."
That's it, Ivan. Let's go, Queen.
Yeah, so
another one bites the dust.
Yeah, so while it's going on, he's also secretly making his own armor. But while that's going on, Tony's kind of talking to Nick Fury, and Nick is pretty much being Natasha reveals to him that she is actually
promo moment. I'm gonna have to ask you to exit the donut.
Yeah,
let's put this on the commercial and all the Iron Man 2 commercials.
Yep, this will do great for Duncan. But yeah, the whole thing happens, and then he reveals his father is, and we learn more about Tony Stark's father, and again, these are one of the things I do like about the film, is that we learn more about Howard's relationship with Tony. Howard's father never said he loved him, and that he quickly.
Oh, Tony's grandpa said that to Howard?
Yeah. God damn it! I am so tired. I'm sorry, people. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to redo this at some point, or
go back.
So Tony says that Howard never said he loved him, and that he got him. He quickly brought.
Which is one of my absolute favorite moments. Probably my absolute favorite moment in the whole freaking film.
Yeah. So the whole thing is that Nick Fury reveals that Howard had a secret. There was something that Howard was working on that he thinks Tony can crack. So with the help of Phil Coulson, who comes back for this scene, and going through and breaking apart Tony's house, he finds a secret compartment full of files, film reels, and Captain America comic books.
Oh.
Yeah, Captain America comic books. It's in the little bunker.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. Well, again, Howard really respected Cap and stuff, and we do go deep into that relationship later on in the movies. But yeah, so Tony starts looking through the film reels, and that's when we see all the blooper reels of Howard being such a kind of a prick and being like, he is like calling bullshit on some of these lines. Like he's like I want to present my ass. like he just gets so drunk. And then Tony's there as well, and he's messing with the stuff in the back.
Little Tony.
Yep. And then eventually...
He literally pops up out of nowhere, like he's stepping on a stool or something.
Yeah, and then while it's going on, then it ends with Howard telling Tony the secret, and that there is a secret within the park, which is totally not Epcot Center. And while it's going, and so pretty much, again, so much Disney-related stuff, and yet Disney did not own this movie yet. So he then said, and then we had the touch moment of him saying, you were my greatest creation, I love you, son. And Tony,
he might as well have. I remember, when I first saw this movie, I so wanted him to say that, but it's just as impactful. It's even more impactful when he just stares at the screen. And almost like he's tearing up.
Yeah, that look alone just shows that Howard, he might have not been the emotional type, but and it's kind of something that they do establish about Howard in the movie, in all the other films. That Howard is not an emotional man, but you can tell just by the way he acts that he does care for people, and he does love, and he does.
And the best part is his personality is exactly like Tony's.
Yep.
And
which makes it ironic that in the comics, Tony's apparently adopted.
Fuck that.
That's a story for another time. Thank you, Bendis.
Wasn't that like a retcon?
Yeah, it's a stupid retcon. I'll talk about that another time.
Not even the fucking wiki articles explain that in detail.
Yeah, To people that don't know, who don't read comics, Tony Stark's adopted. It was retcon. It was retconned in the comics where Howard apparently couldn't have a kid, so he got a bunch of aliens to do it, but he was worried that kid was going to be a monster, so he sent that kid away, and instead he got someone else. He adopted a baby who just so happened to look like him and also be a genius.
What a load of fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it was so stupid, but
that's the comics.
We're getting off tangent, so yeah. Tony starts doing the experiment. He ends up finding out where the element is, and he develops it, applies it to his arc reactor. He created a new element to the periodic table, which actually is referenced in the Marvel Universe. It's only granted, it's not glorified. They don't mention every 24/7, every scene of see, he made a new thing of the periodic table whenever they mention science. It's briefly mentioned in Spider-Man Homecoming, because if you look at there's a scene where they show the periodic table, and they show that they've added an element to it, which is Howard Stark's element. So they do actually have that in there. I forgot what they call it though. I forgot if they actually give the element a name. But so Tony Stark, up and ready, new armor. Not really, because it's just the same armor with a triangle instead of a circle. And while that's been going on, Hammer has decided to get rid of Ivan because, he now...
But before that, he and Rhodey become best buddies.
Oh, yeah, because Rhodey freaking, I almost forgot about this scene. He then, shows him every single weapon that he has in his disposal, including his...
I love how Hammer just improvises. He just goes with it it's not really my thing either. Oh, you don't seem a big fan of it. Oh, that's...
Yeah, he keeps going on, and eventually he goes to his pride and joy, the ex-wife, which unless you read, and I really do feel like the actor had fun playing this character. I really do. I think he had fun with this. But yeah, so while it's going, we have so they apply that all in there. He gets rid of Ivan. He's like, I don't need you anymore. Get the fuck out. Instead of just calling the cops and saying, hey, I found this dangerous criminal around here. Why the hell don't you call the cops and say that, hey, this dangerous criminal's in my house. He broke out of prison. He didn't die.
Yeah.
Somehow, some shit like that. But no, he just threw him out somewhere. And, the Stark Expo happens. Tony Stark finds out about Ivan not being dead. The show of the drones, they show that Rhodey's going to be apparently the captain. He's going to run the drones. Once Tony Stark shows up, fucking convenient, Ivan hijacks the drones. He plans to attack Tony with it, leading to a very lackluster fight of, them just getting chased around with only one scene that ends up having any real significance. And it's only because of what would happen later in the future, that being the little boy in the Iron Man helmet.
Fuck!
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's the only reason people now talk about that scene. If you don't know what we're talking about, in Iron Man 2, there's a scene where a little boy wearing an Iron Man helmet is face to face with the drones. The drone looks at it for a brief second. Then it gets shot by Tony. Tony looks at the kid and says, "Good job, kid," and flies away.
And if it was just that would have been perfect, because I love that.
Yeah,
I loved that for years. But apparently...
it was Peter Parker. This would technically, I guess...
Why the fuck not?
Yeah,
Why the fuck not?
I'm fine with it. Like, I'm okay with it, but yeah...
No!
You can see how... Despite the fact that I told you that
As if it wasn't fucking apparent enough that he was a fucking Iron Man fanboy.
Yeah,
Fuck.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
What's the point of being Spider-Man if you can just be fucking Iron Boy? Or fucking Spider Iron Boy or something.
Oh, whatever. But yeah. Personally, I don't mind the scene. Like, I thought,
Fuck, the Amazing Spider-Man movies were fucking stupid.
This has nothing to do with that.
I had to bring that in. Anyway,
man.
look, I like the climax. It's not as good as the climax in the first film, but it's still a great climax, especially since it extends past one location.
Yeah.
It starts out at the stage, and then it extends throughout the entire expo, eventually ending up in that, what is that spot? Like a...
I forget what it is, but again, it's supposed to be like Epcot Center.
It's like a garden or something,
yeah,
with a bridge.
It's I guess supposed to represent, like, I don't know, it's very...
And Don Cheadle trying to show off some sass, like... No, it's your fault. I just wanted to apologize.
Yeah, and then
it's called being a badass, Tony.
Yeah, and then then we have this scene where it's supposed to be badass, but it ends like in a second because Tony Stark just used that laser beam.
I mean, it was cool and all, but the fight itself was really short. And I think even at the time, I said, when I was that young, I said there should have been more robots. There should have been more drones.
Yeah, and then after that, freaking Ivan shows up. In his armor.
They showed that fight in all the commercials and all the trailers.
Like, it was supposed to be the biggest fucking deal in the movie, and it doesn't happen. It's just for, like a minute long, and then laser beams.
I remember when I was a kid, I was fucking pissed off at that.
Yeah, and then also we have the ex-wife, which doesn't do shit.
When I saw, let's just talk about this now. This movie... like a bunch of other MCU films, had a bunch of false advertising. I should have mentioned this with Incredible Hulk, because Incredible Hulk, if you remember the trailers,
had him not just Doc Samson.
No.
Yeah, it did. It has.
Well, no, not just that. Not just the teaser trailer, but the other trailers made it look like it was this big monster epic.
Yeah, which it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And then this one was even worse, because I remember seeing the trailers and the commercials, and you think Iron Man is going to go toe to toe with bigger terrorist organizations and bigger threats to the world, especially with this Whiplash guy, and he's working together with Black Widow, but no, it's just a revenge story, a family vendetta story, a sins of the father story.
Which isn't bad, but...
and as far as I'm concerned, it was done greatly.
Yeah.
But I will...
Yeah, and if you're wondering why we haven't talked about Black Widow in this film, is because she doesn't really do shit except look very attractive, which...
Fuck you.
I'm not saying she did bad, but I'm just saying the only real scene that she had any real significance was her scene where she is that fight scene she has during the climax,
which was so great. And
it's a great fight. And
there's that shot where she just walks down the hallway
and just kicks their asses.
She walks down the hallway after kicking them all, after knocking them all out. She walks down the hall like a boss. She's doing like her little catwalk thing
while that's going on.
With pepper spray. It's just such a fucking awesome
and while
shot.
Happy's dealing with one guy, she just took out a whole group of guys.
So that's basically BC's way of saying she was fucking beautiful in this movie.
Yes, it's Scarlett Johansson. She is a very beautiful woman.
But I don't agree with you that she didn't do shit in this movie.
She didn't really,
She spied on Tony. She reported Tony's personal shit to Nick Fury.
I'm not saying she didn't do, she did what she had to do. But I'm just saying as a character, she didn't really just make an impact that I was hoping for. I was hoping for her to be like...
Oh, I'm sure Infinity War was 100 times better.
But you're comparing a film from I'm saying
8 years later.
Yeah, from 8 years later. Well, she did do she had other moments and stuff in Avengers and Age of Ultron, which I know you got problems with, and we'll get into that when we get to Age of Ultron. But at least that was something for her. For her character in here, she was just there. She was just there.
No,
you could have replaced her with literally any other spy. You could have replaced her with Maria Hill. You could have replaced her with Bobby. You could have replaced her with Coulson.
No.
Oh, maybe not Coulson.
Not Coulson. Fucking...
Well, like, yeah, okay, maybe not Coulson, but you could have replaced him with any other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and it wouldn't have really made much of a difference.
Okay, so... Back to the climax. What's the next?
So yeah,
I guess we're at the point where Whiplash comes back.
Yeah, and he shows
with his
up.
Crimson Dynamo armor, and he's...
It's not. It's just the Whiplash armor. They don't even call him Crimson Dynamo, despite the fact that...
Oh, now that you mentioned it, the mask does look like Whiplash from the comics that I've seen.
Well, like, what they look like now, which, yeah, they only show... yeah, the armor looks cool for, like, the few minutes that you see... For, like, the minute you see it, because after the... Because the fight... That fight is shorter than the fight with the drones.
It's a little longer.
Barely. It's mostly just them struggling, and then, like, they grab... And then, like, they just do that patty cake thing where, like, well, like, it's just, I'm comparing it. Where, like, they just do, like, a... Yeah, like, if you get that reference, congratulations. You watch Mad TV. You watch that Cartoon Network Mad TV sketch.
Patty cake bean. Patty cake. Yeah, and Ivan go boom.
Yeah, and Ivan, and then Ivan, and then, like, it looks like Ivan will survive, and I'm like, yeah, because, like, I knew the Avengers were happening, and I was like, yeah, with Abomination alive, and it looks like they might keep Ivan alive, we might get Masters of Evil. But no, he dies. He blows himself up.
I don't know.
Well, what was that going to accomplish? Why killing yourself would accomplish? He can fucking fly.
I don't know, watching it again, I'm like, wait a minute, what if he did escape? What if he did escape and went back into hiding?
If that happens, I'm happy with that. I'll be welcome with that record. I'll welcome that.
Sooner or later, they're going to have ghosts. They're going to have ghosts in the MCU.
Yeah, though I feel like with her, she might be used for Thunderbolts. We'll talk about that another time.
Her?
Ghost. You know.
No!
You said ghost.
I said ghosts. Ghosts, as in spirits.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ghost.
Spirits of the dead. Spirits of the dead, you dumb fuck.
Don't call me a dumb fuck. It's not my fault that we just recently had a Marvel film where the main villain is called Ghost.
Anyway, we should see. Sooner or later, we're going to see dead people have cameos, including Obadiah Stane, because I love him so much from the first film.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know, some people have actually speculated...
They brought Red Skull back for a cameo.
Yeah, well, he wasn't dead, but he wasn't fucking dead.
Damn it.
Okay, and apparently they have plans for him later.
So Ivan blows everything up.
Ivan goes boom.
Including Pepper, who just stood there.
Yeah, and then after that we have Tony and Pepper, who kind of, like, they finally start the relationship, because for the past few films it's kind of been more of a will they, won't they type of thing, but in this one they just get together. Which I don't mind that. I'm fine with it. I don't care.
I thought it was...
You know, it's better than the comics, where in the comics they're constantly doing the whole would they, won't they, until finally she marries Happy. And then when Happy dies, they start going back to that. Because...
Decades in the making there.
Yeah, and then we find out Happy had an illegitimate son who was, like, the teen abomination. Yes. Oh, yes. Happy Hogan had a bastard son who was who became a teenage version of the Abomination. Look it up.
Wait a minute, before we explain Abomination in the comics, because we should have done that in the Incredible Hulk vlog.
Well, it's not much to say about him. He was a Russian agent who, you know, messed with gamma messed with gamma radiation, turned into a giant lizard man. I don't know why he became a giant lizard man while everyone else became mutated humans, like the Gremlin.
Isn't he a fish head?
Yeah, well, it's more artists nowadays make him look more reptilian. They try to make him look more reptilian, though. Again, I'll stick by that the original design looked like Creature from the Black Lagoon on roids. But yeah, nowadays in the comics they try to make him look more reptilian. And with Abomination, it's kind of he kind of suffers the same issue that Mandarin has, that the only reason people remember him is not because of a big story he had, it's just that he was the most used out of the characters. Like, he was used the most out of the Hulk villains. He died for a period of time, and again, he was kind of replaced with both Rick Jones, who is completely absent in all these fucking movies, and then later on, again, Happy's son, whose first name escapes me, but yeah, Happy Hogan had a son, and his son became, like, Teen Abomination, though he was more of an Iron Man-based character. But yeah, there's not much I can say about Blonsky, but whatever. Back to Iron Man. So yeah, after Tony Stark does this, he gets a Medal of Honor from the same guy, and he does that whole "you little prick." And then,
but before that,
oh yeah, well before that, we have a scene where Nick Fury is talking to Tony, and while this is going on, we see footage of the Incredible Hulk going on in the background.
Right.
And where Tony is told that he will not be eligible for the Avengers Initiative. Apparently, Black Widow again, she did an evaluation on him. He's completely unstable and has textbook narcissism. And
that's another thing about this movie that I had a problem with, is that when he, for some reason, even before he was being a flat out asshole to everyone was being a flat out jackass to him, including Nick Fury and Natasha. They were just judging him before they gave him a chance.
Yeah.
And this whole thing,
right, he even
you know this whole thing with forcing him to be a consultant and not being an Avenger. I mean, I remember at the time thinking, are they forcing him to not be Iron Man anymore? That's what I thought at the time.
Yeah, and then after that they have...
they only did that for dramatic effect, and it doesn't really work.
Also, they even have a scene where Tony Stark points out, I was dying! Of course I was a little unstable. And, like, but yeah, he becomes a...
Fuck you, Natasha.
Yeah, he becomes a...
Go back to being BFFs with Pepper.
Yeah.
Is Natasha BFFs with Pepper?
No, not really.
What was the point of that?
Yeah.
But to be okay, and yes, like he was saying, he's now a consultant.
Yeah, which later they would
leads to
the
nothing.
Whole, yeah, well, like the whole.
No, it doesn't lead to anything. They never tell us how much he consulted with Shield about this. They never explained whether they were even looking for another candidate.
Yeah.
Were they even looking for a candidate?
Yeah, they did. Because briefly, I'll talk about this short real quick. There's a short where Phil Coulson and finds out that apparently, the higher-ups want to hire Blonsky, and, because they want to put all the blame on the Hulk because, again, Hydra and shit. They want to have Blonsky on the Avengers, but Blonsky's under Ross's, jurisdiction, so they have to talk to Ross for this. So they know for a fact that the only way they can prevent this from happening is that they send someone who they know Ross will never agree with to make sure Blonsky stays in prison. So that's why Tony was sent to go talk to Ross. It was
forgot that.
It was purposely done so Blonsky wouldn't be. So he wasn't talking about the Hulk. He was talking about Blonsky. So that's why he was there.
What?
Yeah, I just told you the higher ups at Shield wanted Blonsky to be an Avenger. And but since Coulson didn't want, since Fury and Coulson, they didn't want Blonsky in the Avengers because they know he's a fucking psycho.
Who? When you say higher ups of Shield, are you talking about the Council?
Yeah, the Council, and some of the Council.
They're not Shield. They're just.
They're kind of the guys who Nick answers to, and one of them is a Hydra agent. In the show Agents of Shield. We find out one of the council members, the one who was actually saying we should just destroy New York with a missile, he's Hydra. So, yeah, he wants Blonsky in there.
Of course he was!
Yeah. So they want Blonsky to join the Avengers. Coulson says no, that's a bad idea. So,
finish up Iron Man 2.
Yeah. So pretty much...
Like I said before, I said in another video, the MCU is full of MacGuffins. The whole thing with Iron Man, with Tony just being a consultant and that they were going to find a proper candidate, it never happened. It never went anywhere.
Yeah. My main issue with the movie is that, again, as you can tell, besides the fact that, again, I am very tired, I've been very all over the place with the story, and that's because the story is really all over the place. There's so many flaws, there's so many issues with the story, and it feels like they're more focused on promoting other stories that they're planning to do someday. They do references to so many characters. They do a reference to the Avengers. They do a reference to Captain America. They do a reference to future Iron Man stories. They do a reference to what happens in the comics. They do a reference to they do mostly it's just a bunch of Easter eggs and mostly just build up for the Avengers movie. And even then, barely that. Again, Black Widow, as much as I think Scarlett Johansson would later do a great job of Black Widow, she's just kind of meh in the movie. She does have some good moments, but honestly, again, I feel you could replace her with characters like Maria Hill or Bobby or okay, this character didn't exist until Agents of Shield, but May, like it just felt like she could have just been anybody, and it really, and even though I will say she had a great fight scene in the climax, that's kind of about it. And again, when it came to the villain, he was great. I really liked Whiplash. He was a fun villain, and he's actually on my top 10 list of favorite Marvel MCU my favorite MCU villains. But the problem is, we barely get to spend time with him. Hell, Tony only spends like one scene with him before the end. Hell, we actually had a better ending for Iron Man 2. Which was a deleted scene where you can actually see more of a Mexican standoff type of scene with Tony and Ivan, which was a way better scene. But for some reason they decided not to go with that. They decided to go for the more anticlimactic.
Come on.
It was such bullshit. I'm sorry. And also, and again, I don't get why they made him Whiplash. Like, okay, I understand this, and I said this before. Like, Iron Man and Hulk, they don't really have that much of a memorable rogue gallery. Hulk has more memorable villains than Iron Man. With Iron Man, the only ones that people really remember are usually, like, if you ask, it's usually either Mandarin or Red Skull. Nowadays they also bring up Ironmonger, but he doesn't really do anything in the comics except, eventually kill himself after his first big story arc. But yeah, you could have just done with Ironmonger, especially since not Ironmonger, freaking Crimson Dynamo, and I don't know why they had to merge the two characters together since they didn't really lead to anything. In fact, in Agents of Shield, they would just bring in a new Whiplash. They just bring in a new guy as Whiplash.
I did see something about that.
Yeah, and this one's actually closer to the comic book original Whiplash. Though they don't call him Marco, they call him Marcus. So it's kind of the same. So it's more like the original. It's closer to that version. But yeah, they kind of replaced him anyway. So why not just make him Crimson Dynamo? And if people tell me it's because he was in the video game, let me remind you that in Amazing Spider-Man, they had fucking Rhino in that movie, and he was nothing like the Rhino from the video game. But yeah. For me in this movie, I think it had a lot of potential, but it was wasted, and it was very, I feel like it was really poorly done. Robert Downey Jr. still did a great job playing Tony Stark. Nick Fury was great. Samuel Jackson did say that this is a character he wants to play he wants to always play. Like, he doesn't want, he's not, he always wants to play Nick Fury no matter what. And then, Don Cheadle was
I ain't Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no!
Okay. Don Cheadle, again, I liked him as Rhodey, and it's kind of hard to believe, and though Terrence Howard was a great Rhodey in the first film, I feel like, it would feel weird now if somehow they replace the actors again, like in midway they replace Don Cheadle with Howard. It would just feel weird. If there's anything else I can say about this film, I would say if you're hoping for a great successor to the first film, I'm sorry, this ain't the film for you. It doesn't really dive in, it kind of glosses over some really good concepts, and it really also wastes the potential of doing an adaptation of Demon in a Bottle. Which was a very big point in Iron Man's career, and actually was one of the, and to this day is is kind of like the story that you think when you think Iron Man. Much like with Daredevil, you think Born Again, or with Spider-Man, you think the death of Gwen Stacy, or with Batman, Nightfall, or The Killing Joke, or No Man's Land, or War Games. Well, okay, not really War Games. Whatever. There's a ton of Batman stories. And with Superman, the Death of Superman, and the Brain of Superman stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I can say about that.
There's one more important thing in the plot you still didn't mention.
Okay, what was it? Because again, I'm really tired. I'm forgetting a lot of shit.
Sir, we found it.
Oh yeah, the Thor reference. Yeah.
Jon Favreau himself said, "And there you have it, baby."
Yep.
In the commentary.
Yeah. So yeah.
He also said, "I was surprised how much we used Scarlet in this movie."
What?
That's what he said. I'm surprised how much we used Scarlet in this movie, and I couldn't have been happier. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, even then she didn't appear in that many scenes, so
yeah,
yay.
Like
he probably was talking about the couple of action scenes she had.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know. I got to watch for that myself, but I don't know.
And when it comes to her, even though she looks great, her costume is great and all. Did you notice that the Black Widow symbol was barely noticeable?
Yeah, like I remember. Like,
they would eventually make it red and black and all.
Yeah, they would kind of start to emphasize a little bit more. Again, that's kind of why I feel like they didn't really do anything to make her stick out.
I don't think they've ever once called her Black Widow in these movies, did they?
I think they have at one point. I think they've called her Widow.
I can't remember.
At least.
Can't remember. So explain the Thor. The famous post-credit scene, which is still cool. It is a pretty cool scene even to this day.
So, pretty much with Thor, yeah, like it's just the hammer. It's a great build up to it, and this would lead to Marvel's biggest challenge of all, and that is combining the world of magic with the world of science. You know, when it comes to Thor, what's the word I want to go with here? Yeah, when it comes to Thor, it was just kind of cool. Thor was a character I wasn't super into in comics, much like Iron Man. Like
yeah,
I was aware.
I don't think anybody really knew who Thor was.
I was aware of the character,
except he was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Like soulless machine, how dare you strike the son of Odin?
Again, I read the comics and I read comics featuring Thor, but I just never got into the character that much. Like it was like. The comics I did read featuring Thor were very good. Were very good stories and stuff, but they're always like Avengers comics or guest appearances. Like there's this one story where Spider-Man, faced off against Loki with Thor. Also, there's that Deadpool story where Deadpool had the powers of Thor for a while as the Thor pool. But.
Yeah, it's a great post-credit scene for Thor, cause
well, it's very simple. It's a simple scene.
Yeah,
it's just
Coulson actually mentions earlier. He actually mentions earlier, I'm being reassigned to New Mexico. There's some business the director wants me to take care of down there, and then we jump to New Mexico in the post-credit scene. And the reason why the hammer's there is all pretty cool, which all happens in Thor, which we'll be discussing next time in our next vlog.
Yep.
So I guess I'll finish off here with a concise summary of my own thoughts about this movie. I think it's a great film. I think it's a great sequel. It's not as good. It's nowhere as good as the first film, but it did a lot of more things right the more I watch it. Similar to the first film, I would watch this film on my iPad a lot from time to time, and I really got more hooked into it. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was pretty good, seeing it for the first time in the theater, and then it really grew on me. I did like... Also, even though I wish it was what the trailers had made it out to be as like a bigger battles, bigger world and stuff, it still worked very well as a very personal vendetta-based story. Sins of the Father, family vendetta, just like Jon Favreau himself said. I said right?
Yeah. You don't get a cookie.
Oh, shut up. and anyway, I'll say right now, I would rank Iron Man 2 like a solid A, and probably a low 94%. Compared to the 97% that I gave to the first film. It's a lot higher than Incredible Hulk. Because for a long time, even after seeing it again and ranking it higher now, Incredible Hulk was the weakest MCU film for a long time.
Yeah.
Until certain other special movies came in, but we'll get to those later.
Yeah.
I still think the writing is great overall. I thought there was a great balance between the drama, the action, the comedy, and so forth. And even though I wish there was more action in this film, probably action sequences that didn't include Ivan at all. Like, those two major sequences with Ivan, between him and Tony, probably were good enough. They probably were perfect enough. They just could have been utilized better, and they could have been extended better, especially considering that in the climax of the movie, like I said, there should have been more robots, more drones to fight, since... as a kid, every time I saw Iron Man in the comics or in video games or in cartoons, he was always fighting an army of robots. So I was really looking forward to seeing that, but here it's only like 32 robots, if even that. And
also,
I did like how War Machine got hacked too, and Natasha had to save him. And
and then Hammer goes to prison, and then we don't see him until Hail the King, and even then you have to look in the background to see him.
and I do admit the final fight with Whiplash, which was a 2-on-1 fight, and it was impressively done. I just wish it was longer, just the same as the small robot army thing.
Yeah, and despite the fact that they retconned it, having that little boy being Spider-Man,
Fuck that.
I personally like the scene. I'll get more into it when we talk about Homecoming, but I personally do enjoy it. I know it was kind of it's unnecessary, but I feel like it's kind of nice to do that whole thing to show that there are sometimes some heroes are inspired by others, because there actually have been comics where certain superheroes became superheroes because of other heroes. And Peter Parker, for being a science nerd, of course, he would somehow go to the Stark Expo. You could argue that Uncle Ben, whoever plays him,
well, in the comics, wasn't it Captain America who's inspired Spider-Man?
It was actually a combination of both Captain America and Iron Man in some versions, I believe. Iron Man because of the science, because he just thought the science. Well, I think he was inspired by Tony Stark when it came to science, but when it came to heroism, it was Captain America. But in this one, they just made it Iron Man, which isn't too far off. Because once he found out, I'm pretty sure, Peter Parker really started to appreciate Tony even more, and it led to that whole pseudo-father-son relationship that they had in the JMS run. But
I want to add more, but I'm not sure how much more or less to add more, even with the limited time we have here.
Yep.
I agree with BC here that Ivan was a great villain, Whiplash was a great villain, and like I said before, I disagree with him that Natasha was wasted, or even that Nick Fury was wasted.
I don't think Nick was wasted, because at least with him, it's of course he's supposed to be lesser known, it's with him, when his scenes show up, at least they mean something. With Natasha, Nick has that authority where you need to have him in there. It felt like he needed it, it felt necessary to have him in there. With Natasha, it didn't feel necessary. Again, replace her with anyone else.
They should have done more with Rhodey.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like again, I'll talk about this with Thor. It's kind of like the Hawkeye scene.
Yeah, some of the stuff with Rhodey is just very forced in.
Yeah. But yeah,
some of the stuff with Rhodey is very forced in, and it should have been balanced better. And even with Pepper, they could have done more with Pepper than they did. Honestly, the stuff in this film would be more suitable for a third or fourth film.
Yeah.
Maybe even a fifth film.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Iron Man 3, because that feels more like the end of a freaking saga than it does a trilogy.
Yeah,
what they were trying to do, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, we'll talk about Iron Man 3 another time.
Yeah, in the future.
Yep.
And, God, what else? It feels like there's some other important things I should compare it with.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell was great. I thought Justin Hammer was a great secondary antagonist.
Yep.
Where he just, similar to Obadiah Stane, he wanted the power and glory, not just of Tony Stark, but of Iron Man.
Yeah.
He clearly was self-incompetent, and that really dawned on me when I was seeing this.
Yeah, he's an idiot, and they even have that joke of, when the ex-wife shows up, Tony just looks at Rhodey and he's like, Hammer Tech? Which is funny, because I actually made, everyone
the
does
stuff
that.
between Tony and Hammer's really funny, where they're just casually throwing insults at each other.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of funny that, because, and, it kind of reminds me a lot of Batman Forever with Edward Nygma, where, when he started his own company and stuff, he started dressing and acting like Bruce Wayne. And he was trying to impress him by showing see, I'm better than you, and
I haven't seen that movie in fucking forever.
Yeah, well, there's literally a scene where he tells him show how everyone you've been outclassed in every single possible way but whatever. We could talk about Batman Forever another time. There's a whole thing I could talk about when it came to Schumachers.
Yeah, Batman is a total. Is a temple for this guy.
Yeah, I know.
He fucking loves Batman.
Yeah, that was the first superhero I was ever introduced to. Yeah, and I think that's a sign showing that he's running out of gas.
I want to say more, but I can't really say more. Maybe we can save it for another video, like an extra stuff video in the future.
Yeah.
There's more interesting trivia, comparisons, etc. that I want to share.
Yeah.
But for now, I think this is a good stopping point for today, and for the end of the original Paramount trilogy. Next time we will get together for Thor, Captain America: First Avenger, which is his favorite MCU film. Just throwing that out right there right now. So look forward to some really fun inputs from him in regards to that.
Yeah.
I really like the film too, but I'll get into that more when we get together
and
again.
Also,
and then of course, the original Avengers film, my second most favorite superhero film of all time, ironically enough, even better than the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. And I guess we'll just stop here for today. Thank you for your time, and we've had a lot of fun making the first videos, and we look forward to making a lot more vlogs in the future. And for better or worse, we are looking very forward to the end of Phase 3 with Captain Marvel and Infinity War, the second Infinity War movie. And we'll see you we'll see you in the near future, and see you next week, and the week after that, and so on.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Yeah. See you later, guys, and hopefully we'll be more professional, and I've had more fucking sleep. Because I am really tired.
Only time. This is the Spirit Man and the Pendejo Hulk signing off. Oh, well, he's going on a rampage. This is Spirit Man signing out. Bye.